Morning, everyone. I'm Esma van Tonde. It's my privilege today to present this first of 6 sessions. So I'm not going to present it. Anne-Marie is going to. This is one of 6 sessions that I am organizing as part of winning the Research Librarian Award at the conference last year. So today is on advanced searching. Then we'll have advanced searching for systematic reviews, introduction to bibliometrics focusing on journals, advanced bibliometrics, and then introduction to altmetrics. So keep Liasa's space eye on for the adverts that will come out. Then it's my privilege to introduce Anne-Marie de Pre to you, who's going to present today on advanced information searching. After graduating with a BBibbel degree, Mrs. de Pre started a career at the UFS Music Library. During that time, she was also the web manager of the LIS webpage back in the murky past when it was still a one-woman job. In 2015, she was appointed as the head of the Frick Scott Health Sciences Library at the UFS. Her professional interests include research support to the Faculty of Health and strengthening the relationship between the faculty and the UFS library services. Anne-Marie, thank you so much. I know you know a lot about advanced information searching, and I'm sure we're all going to learn extra today. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Esma. Can Esma just confirm that I'm audible?
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So good morning, colleagues. As you've heard, I'm Anne-Marie from the University of the Free State Library and Information Services. And thank you for this opportunity to be speaking to you this morning on advanced information searching. I've asked Esma to keep her eye on the chat. So if there's any questions, I really don't mind if the questions come during the presentation. If you want to wait until the end, you're welcome. If you don't want to ask now and contact me later, there's an email address at the end. I'm also not going to switch on my video, but there's a picture of me at the end. So if you wait until the very end, you'll be rewarded with a picture of me. So thanks again, and let's get going. Oh, now I just need, there we go. All right. So I wondered long and hard about this slide and the next slide, whether I should include it in this presentation or not. It's different when you present to postgrad students or undergrad students and when you present to your colleagues, but I still thought it remains a relevant slide and a relevant question because, yeah, it's just maybe necessary to highlight why this is the case. So usually when we present, we ask this question to our postgrad students. And the answer, of course, is we don't use Google, right? So for us as professional librarians, that's actually, for us, it's obvious the reasons why we don't use Google for a professional search, but just to reiterate this fact. Okay, so what should we use? We as librarians know that we would rather use reputable academic databases. We are familiar with the names that's important, like Scopus and the Web of Science and others, depending on our field of expertise. And then basically we explain to the students it's because they contain journal articles or references to journal articles that are scholarly and peer-reviewed. So we hope to get good quality information in that way. But that second minor bullet is very important, is that Google does not really allow us to do a sophisticated and a refined search. Okay, so we can't really do an expert search on Google. I know there's an advanced search block where you can search, but there's still reasons. Or people would ask, but what about Google Scholar? The problem with Scholar is not the content. The problem with Scholar is still the interface and how Google operates. And that gets to the third bullet there. Often when we do really advanced searching, like for systematic reviews and scoping reviews, we need to be able to repeat the search, and other people need to be able to replicate the search. So we all know Google likes you, like YouTube likes you. YouTube will always give you the stuff that you're interested in. When you open YouTube, it's if you like music, a certain kind of music, those videos pop up first. So Google works in the same way. So it's difficult to replicate a search exactly between different people from vastly different areas or different skills levels or whatever. So that's why I thought to still have the Google slide in, just to remind us also that Google is fickle. We don't know what we get. While with our good databases like Scopus and the Web of Science, we know exactly. They're very clear and overt about what information they have, how they rank in terms of relevancy, etc. So we know what's going on. With Google, we also don't always know what's going on. So just to get that slide out of the way, right? So when we think about, I'm going to just focus on sort of the steps that we take when we do an advanced information search, right? So the first step would always be to have a topic like this. So what are the experiences of family members of children with cerebral palsy? So, all right, how do we tackle this question? So we start by thinking of our keywords that's relevant to the search, and we think of certain synonyms. We make use of our fancy library words like Boolean operators and proximity operators. We make use of our skill in terms of phrases and truncation. We think about certain limiters, and we think about how we want to output this information. All right, so when we think about our topic, or this is our topic, so the first thing we do is we think about keywords. So the keywords that pop up here are the experiences of family members of children with cerebral palsy. All right. So let's start easy. Let's start with the children. So what do? We consider synonyms for our keywords. So it could be a child or an infant or a toddler or a baby or a babies, or well, multiple babies, or one newborn or a neonate. Okay, now I can urge you as a professional librarian, please engage with if you are doing an information search for somebody, like in a systematic review setup. This really is a collaboration. As an advanced search is a collaboration also between you and your subject expert. We are expert librarians, but we work in fields where we have expert academics as our clients. I'm at the health sciences faculty, so you'll see my slides bend towards health sciences, but each of us are an expert. We are probably working in a field where we have experts. So engage with these experts and get other words. This one is still easy, child or infant or toddler. But in the health sciences world, we start looking at biomarkers and chemical elements and stuff that I don't know the synonyms of. I don't know which biomarkers to look for, but then my academic will come in and tell me, all right, so these biomarkers are important, or this is important, or that is important. So engage with them in terms of these synonyms. Okay. To actually find words that will be relevant to your search. I've got brackets here as well. Your brackets become important. Brackets, we put brackets around our synonyms, as you can see on the screen. The brackets become important when the searches become very complex, because we have to tell the system exactly what is a unit and what is another unit and what is another unit, so that the system on which we search, which database ever, doesn't become confused, or we don't become confused about what keywords go with what other keywords. Okay. When we do a simple search, it's not a problem, but when it becomes complex, it's better to do the brackets. What I tell students when I do training is that think of it like fingers on a hand. So this one hand is about a small little person. That person can be called a child, the infant, a toddler, all that you see on the screen. But to make it a unit, to make it one thing, to put a glove around all of those fingers, to confine it that it's one single hand, even though it's fingers, we put a glove around it, and that's what the brackets do. All right. So I've got another example. For this is my family members, so it can be It can be all of these words. It can probably be cousins and nephews and nieces as well. So we can really think about our synonyms. I know most librarians, if you give them a word, they immediately start thinking in terms of synonyms. Or people, when people ask me something, even my family, I would ask them, just tell me exactly what it is that you need, because sometimes your researcher or the person who poses the question is also still a bit muffled about what information they want. So it's a good idea to exactly know what information you're looking for, break it into keywords, search for synonyms, and remember the brackets around our synonyms. It's like putting a glove on a hand. If you've got, in this case, I've got multiple fingers on this hand and I just put a glove around. All right. The next trick or thing that we can make use of is phrase searching. I don't know what your experience is with phrase searching, but in my case, I've seen students use this in the most interesting and fascinating and totally incorrect ways. Okay, they would sort of put their entire search query as a phrase, right? So just to remind us all, a phrase is a specific keyword, an existing keyword that we acknowledge in our different fields of expertise, subject fields, that consists of more than one word. Okay, like cerebral palsy, or the government of national unity, or artificial intelligence. So it's one concept, but the concept, the keyword, has more than one word. Okay. The phrase searching helps a lot to let the system really understand that it's one unit, especially something like the government of national unity. We don't want these words to be split up all over the show. It needs to be that exact word order, the government of national unity. So we put it in quotation marks. The system knows that this is a single unit, right? This is our truncation. We can chop off a word. And this helps a lot when we search. Okay, I had a cute student the other day, very excited when they grasped this concept, and they called it the chopping star. So the chopping star is fantastic. I I mostly chop off every single word that I come across. Okay, because this makes that we don't have to use child, children, or childhood as a synonym. Let me just get back. So I don't have to say child or children or childhood or infancy or babyhood. I don't know what you'd call that, but you can just chop off child with a little star, which is, it's mostly a star. We call it truncation, or as I said, the student talked about the chopping star. So we will find child, singular, or children, or childhood. Risk, you get risk, risks, risky, etc. I've been around long enough, like most of you probably also have, that some words you can't chop off. No, you can't chop off policy or policies. Those two must be synonyms, because otherwise it also picks up police if you chop it off there. Okay, so we wisen up as we go through the years. Policy is one word that we don't use truncation with. Otherwise, there's a few others. I had an example yesterday, and now for the life of me, I can't remember. I searched through my stuff and I couldn't find it. Otherwise, I would have put it here as well. So just be careful of what you chop off and where you chop it off, so that you don't get results that's not really relevant. All right, let's get on. Okay, so proximity operators. I've seen that people are sometimes a bit shy to use proximity operators. Proximity operators can be extremely useful to convince the system of which words should go together. All right, by specifying with, it's usually the operators are usually a small n. I know EBSCO uses the small n, w slash that's what we use in Scopus, and the near is what we use in the Web of Science. So we use these operators, and after the slash or after the n, you specify the number of words that can be allowed between your keywords. As I said, it differs between the databases. So you would usually say N4 or N5, then you allow 5 words to be between your different keywords. What that does, it links your keywords together. Okay. So sometimes you want to find information on a topic, but when you do the search, you see that some other aspects are um it's brought to the fore. That's what the system finds, and that's not what you meant. Now you can't tell Scopus, no, I actually meant it in another way. Scopus doesn't understand. So in a structured way, that is how we have to convince Scopus or which database we're using that these words, I mean the impact of this aspect on that specific thing, and not just the other way around. Okay, so what we end up with then is a search string that could look something like this. Okay, that's in response to our question. We go back to our question. What are the experiences of family members of children with cerebral palsy? Right, so the danger here is that if you search without proximity and so on, you might get the experiences of other people with cerebral palsy. Or the children themselves, their experiences. So we need to say that the experiences are about the family members, and it's the children who have cerebral palsy. It's not the children of other people who maybe have cerebral palsy. That's not what we're after. So we use all of this that we've now had a look at so far to formulate our search string. So we've still got our 4 keywords. Our 4 keywords are basically the child. What about the child? The child has cerebral palsy. Okay. And what are we after? The family members, and we want to see their experiences, which might be their coping or their challenges or their experiences. Obviously, this isn't a totally complete search. There could be more words. So let's just quickly have a look at what we see here. All right. So we've got our first keyword, which are the children. The children need to be, it's synonyms, so we need to put them in a glove. And so we put a bracket around all of our children. We can chop off the children. It can be child or infants or toddlers or newborns or neonates. And what about these? They have cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is a phrase, it's more than one word, so that gets quotation marks. And the W2 says there can only be 2 words between any of these words and this keyword. Okay, when we do a search, we see what we get. If we need to increase this number, we increase this number. We can even make it only one word. We can minimize this number if that's necessary. Okay, so now we know it's about the child has cerebral palsy and the family members. Now, these are all variants on family members. As I said, I could have added cousins and nieces and nephews. And it's they who have to cope. So the coping must come close together to the family members. And we do that with our proximity operators. All right. So in the end, we have something like this. I'm not going to talk to, I'm not talking about systematic reviews today. That will be somebody else's job. But I'm just mentioning when we assist clients with systematic reviews, it's important that we have a single search string like this that the researcher can report on and that other researchers can duplicate. So somebody else must be able to do this exact same search on a database like Scopus, and the expectation is that the same results will be found. Sometimes when we do a search that's not a systematic review, we can just keep on searching until we find the information that we want. We can do a haphazard search this way, this way, this way, that way. But when we do a systematic review, or when we need to report on what we've searched on, it's better to have a single search string, which we can report on in the methodology. Okay, so that's why we want one thing and not just searching all over the show. All right, so that's our search string. There's some other things that we can also do in an advanced search is we can specify fields that in which we want to search, and we can specify limiters in terms of date. Okay, In the faculty in which I'm involved, which is the health sciences faculty, data is very important. We don't want older material. We usually want to know not even what's happening today in the world. We want to know what's happening tomorrow, what's going to happen in terms of technology tomorrow and next year. Okay, so data is important. So that's one way to also just make sure that we get good information. Then field searching. All right. So sometimes when we do an information search, we get too much information. All right. So we might add, as we know, we might add another keyword that will bring down the result set, but at some point you're stuck. You can't make it smaller, you can't make it more focused. So what you can do is you can say that we use the title indicator so that the words that we search for must be in the title of the articles. Right. I've also highlighted subject headings. Sometimes, yeah, so when we do, the person who will be talking about systematic reviews will probably also talk about subject headings and the use of subject headings. We also call it controlled vocabulary. So that's where we know that certain words are used for certain conditions. So make use of the subject headings if it's available in your field to enhance your search, if it's a possibility for you. Okay. I've got an image coming in a later slide on subject headings. All right. So now I've done my search. All right, the first time I do my search, what we usually do is we formulate together with the client or the postgrad researcher, whoever, we formulate a search strategy, and we feel very clever, and then we go to the database and we do the search, and we get 16,000 references, or we get 10 references. All right, then we just go back to the drawing board and we redo the search because we have to evaluate what we see. So we can make a beautiful search string, a beautiful search strategy, but we have to test it in the database. If it doesn't work, giving me way too many, way too few, we have to evaluate and just do the search again. All right, so we constantly do the search and just check, does it give what we want? Okay. We can change the display options if needed. All databases have that, where you can say, I want to look at the most relevant articles, or I want to look at the most recent articles, or I want to look at I want to look at 50 articles at a time, not just 10, whatever. So there's display options that helps us to evaluate what we see. And then we have to output our search results. So now we've done our beautiful information search, our advanced search with all of the beautiful operators, Boolean and proximity, and we've put brackets around everything, but now we have to output. All right, so there's different ways. Databases give us different methods to output. We can save or email, print or download or whatever. There's different ways to do that, and there's different formats to do that. Okay, so again, this is an interaction between the librarian and the researcher. Depending on the level of study, if we do a quick search for an undergrad, it's fine if we just let the database email the results to them, and that's fine. But as we do more advanced searching and we cater for a more advanced researcher profile, we also like to include the format like RIS. RIS is a format, as we know, that's compatible with most referencing software systems, like Mendeley or EndNote or Zotero or whichever referencing software the person uses. RIS is a compatible file format. It's also a file format that's compatible with review software. All right. So if a researcher is doing a systematic or scoping review, then they would probably be making use of software like Ryan, which is a free product, or Covidence, which is a subscription product. And RIS is compatible with that. So in those review software programs, that RIS file can just be uploaded and the references can be screened in that software. Okay, so that's why it's important to know about RIS. And find out from your researcher, is this a file format? There's usually some training that goes with RIS. I don't know if you've seen it with your researchers, but we've definitely seen it. If they don't know what a RIS file is, if you send the RIS file, doc, we know it's a Word document. PDF, we know if you click on it, Adobe Acrobat opens. But RIS, sometimes when you send a RIS file, your client would just double click on the file and then they'll tell you that the file cannot open. There's a little bit of, if you haven't done it before, then it's your turn to train them a bit and tell them that RIS is compatible with certain software. It's not generally, you can't just double click. It's not something that you don't necessarily have a program on your computer that will be able to read RIS. So you have to give them some training in that regard. All right. I see we're going quite fast through this, so excuse me for that, but maybe there's some questions afterwards. So I would like, this is almost towards the end of the presentation, so a few tips that might work for you is know your databases, but know your databases. Okay, each of us, we're each in a different environment. We're each at a different institution. Not all institutions subscribe to all databases. Not all academic disciplines use the same databases. So it is a very good idea for you, where you specifically are, to find out what well, by this time you probably know which databases are available to you and which databases are available for your subject field, and please go and play on them. Find out what are the proximity operators. Find out what's the best way to output. Find out what happens if you try and bulk export. See what happens. So play around. Attend database training sessions from time to time. There are vendors that do supply database training. Attend that. Empower yourself. Know the databases that you work on. Know how they search. Know what they search for. Know what happens if in terms of deduplication or whatever. So get to know your databases that you need to work on and that your clients need to work on. That second bullet is also important. Often some functionalities are not available if you don't sign into the databases. So most databases have a space where you can sign into the database. What that means is you make it a personalized experience. I know in Scopus, you can add your search results to a list, and that list you can do more things with than if you just have the search results. But to get to the list, you have to sign in first. So many cases, your functionality increases if you sign into the database that's relevant for you. I did touch on subject headings. So use your subject headings if relevant. In the medical field, health sciences, we have the medical subject headings. That's what MESH stands for. So my example there is traffic accidents. Okay, so now you have to find information on traffic accidents. Now what would be a traffic accident? That's a car crash. It's a motor vehicle accident. It's an automobile crash. It can be so many things. So just to help your mind to sort of calm down and not use every single synonym that you can possibly think of, if you have subject headings in your field, use those. So if I just quickly check on MESH, I see that they like to use accidents, traffic, and it tells me what this will refer to. It says it doesn't cover trains and snowmobiles, which is fine. I don't think we have lots of snowmobile accidents in South Africa, but I shouldn't be like that. Maybe in KZN or in Lesotho when it snows a lot. So that tells me that it covers all of this. So I don't have to use these synonyms. I don't have to say traffic accident, traffic accidents, traffic crash, traffic collision, or car crash, or anything. It's better to just use this subject heading, and I've got all of these covered. Okay, if I search on the subject headings, which, yeah, okay. Another tip that I found is that Notepad is your friend. So Notepad is a little application. It's like having a piece of paper and a pen next to you. So it helps a lot to just plan your search a little bit. Right. So this is about the malnourishment of children and how that can be mitigated by physiotherapy. So it's just me planning a search. So I've got my first keyword, and I've got my second keyword, and I've got my third keyword. Between the different keywords, we use the word and. For the synonyms, we use our operator or. As I say, we put it in a bracket so that the system knows this is one keyword. I use my quotation marks where needed, and I use my asterisk to chop off where needed. Okay, I actually think this is now the end. If I please press the button again, you're going to see the picture of me, and we're going to see and my email address and an invitation to questions. Oh, there's one more. Sorry, this is my last tip. This is a very important tip. Okay, please be very careful of the Boolean operator not. Please be careful of not. Not is not your friend. Okay, so not will even pick up in a negative sense. So if you're looking for articles, but you specifically do not want children, and you put that in your search and you say not child, it will pick up even in a negative way, meaning you will find articles where the article also said, oh, this study was just about adults and no children were included. So the minute it has that word in that you said not, so even if the article itself says it's not about children, but it uses the word child, and you use the operator not, you will not find that article. Okay, so please be very, very careful. Not is not your friend. Okay, not as I would rather add another keyword or do some other brilliant librarian thing, but be very careful to use not, because not will maybe eliminate records that would have been useful for your researcher. Okay, I expect if I click now, yeah, there we go. So there's Anne-Marie. Here's my email address. I see in the chat there's 40. So Hesma, if there's questions, I think I'm going to stop sharing now and just take us back to the Zoom. And if there's any questions, then maybe I can answer them.
Okay, thank you, Anne-Marie. There were a few comments actually, or a question, and then some of your our colleagues answered for you. So Nare asks, how can we encourage students to prioritize scholarly publications for the literature search? Now, Dumela C says it calls for collaboration with academics also, as Anne-Marie just mentioned, for instance, in assignments, assistance, and other things. And then Surendra says, I try to emphasize this in one-on-one sessions with M&D students at our faculty, also get a buy-in of faculty support specialist. If you want to maybe expand on that, Anne-Marie, or just say, yes, everyone is correct.
I think yes, everybody is correct, but I think it's a question of spreading the message the whole time. We all know that this is where our budgets go. Our budgets don't go into books. Our budgets go into these databases. I don't need to tell anybody what Scopus and Science Direct costs us per year per institution. So so it really is a return on investment to convince our stakeholders that we need to use these databases for obvious reasons, but also for return on investment.
Thanks. Then, when you were talking about synonyms, C.E. Waters says EBSCOhost has redesigned its search interface that has been modeled on Google as it's more friendly. Among other things, terminology has changes, e.g. limiters. I search in the social sciences. I can maybe somewhat talk to this as well, Anne-Marie, is that I see EBSCOhost has now does somewhat give you the synonyms as you type. If you start typing human trafficking, it will somewhat do trafficking in persons and modern slavery. So that's nice. So you don't need to think of all the synonyms all the time. But if you have a very extensive search, like a systematic review, it's still very good to sit with your research to get as many synonyms as possible.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, I saw that with EBSCO. So that's actually a good example of what I said about get to know your databases. EBSCO's interface has changed. And I know Mandisa and the team, they've been giving training sessions. I've attended 2 earlier this year because I was a bit out of, no, you get thrown when the interface suddenly changes. No, so you have to see what works for you, because you had your ways of doing a search on EBSCO and now you have to change that. So it does help a bit if you invest some time in attending those training and in playing around with the database that's now changed its interface, and see if there's some settings that you as an institution need to change, or if there's global settings that you would like EBSCO as a whole to change. So yeah, I'm glad you brought up EBSCO, because that links to what I said about really getting to know your databases.
Okay, Rian asked before I get to the others, because the others are later on in your presentation. Rian asked, now can Boolean operators be confined to a specific field, e.g. title? Because then you can apply not only to the title.
Yeah, we can do that. That's a good example. If I do not, it's usually in the title. When I get something that shouldn't be there. The good example I'm thinking of is nursing homes. I want nursing, but I don't want nursing homes. But the nurse might be working in a nursing home, but I don't want the nursing home in the title. So then I can if I do a field searching, and then I can search in the title, and then I can say in the title I don't want nursing homes, then that works. Yeah, that can be applied, Esma, like he suggests.
Okay, then when you were talking about the proximity operators, C.E. Walters said there was an operator which allows you to search where the terms can follow or precede each other. The order is flexible. I must honestly say I didn't know that.
I think that's the idea. It is flexible, so it can be a child with I can't, I'm on the spot now. I can't think of examples. So it doesn't matter what the order of the words are. There's probably an operator where it has to be that exact word order, where it's first the one word, then your proximity operator, then the other word. But with that near and the W, then it doesn't matter. It's interchangeable. But most databases also have a help aspect where you can go to the help and just read on their proximity operators, because sometimes I think I can't remember now. Sorry, I just use the near because I don't specify the word order, but you can. Some of those proximity operators do specify it. First has to be the one keyword or its synonyms, and then the proximity operator, then the other one. It has to be in that order. So get to know and just go and check on the help of the databases. That'll explain it to you.
Okay, then thank you. Then Surenda says, colleagues, what are your experiences of searching in DOIB, DOIJ, and OITD in terms of subject relevance and African sources? Then C.E. Walter replied, of these databases, I mainly search DOIJ. The search is quite flexible. For example, you can search journals from a country by topic keyword, subject, and more. It takes a bit of effort to dig out these options. The big one is that the journal lists, they are not predatory. Well, yeah, which is a problem with Google Scholar and Semantic Scholar. And then she asks, have you tried BASED, Bielefeld Academic Search Engine?
Okay, I haven't investigated Bielefeld, and I haven't looked at those. But it's nice to see that, because we make notes now, and then
Yeah.
we go and investigate them. Because yeah, the world is changing now. We grew up, or I grew up with our EBSCOs and our Web of Sciences, but there's other databases and other options that we can have a look. So I'm just gonna I can't comment on Bielefeld, and I can't comment on the others. So I'm just gonna make some notes for myself.
Then someone also thought, sorry, I didn't copy your name. I'll give Bielefeld a shot. Many thanks. Okay, Annemarie, the rest of the things are asking whether the slides are going to be shared, which I answered yes. So please, if you can send the slides to me. And then I've asked, and that's why you see so many chats, that the people must just put in their full names in the chat box, so that Liasa can see who is Hulda. I know who's Hulda, but Hulda, so one of you specifically, as well as Freddie one and Tsele TK. Just put in your full names for Liasa's sake. Nari, say can I talk to Esma to clarify my question? I don't see the option to raise my hand on Zoom.
I think Nare is welcome to just unmute, or we can unmute
Okay.
and ask.
Thanks very much for recognizing me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Hesma. I work for the Da Vinci Business School. We are an adult online learning private university, if you like. And our students normally are assessed by assignments. So they submit formatives and summative assessments. So they are required to do a lot of research. They are also supposed to make citations. So we use the Harvard referencing style. So our students are essentially researchers because they also do the so-called project-based research or work-based challenge. They identify a challenge in the workplace, and then they will have to use academic research to solve work related problems. Now, my question is through my experience, students always start with Google because it's easy to do so. We subscribe to EBSCO. In my tutorials, I emphasize the importance of using scholarly publications, and I also deal with AI cases, artificial intelligence cases, and plagiarism cases. And I have noticed that students plagiarize online sources, by copying and pasting and submitting as their own work. So I need assistance here. I need your advice, Esma. What can I do to encourage students to understand or to use scholarly publications? Because you are not going to stop them. We have adult students, they have work life, balance challenges. They have due dates to submit assessments. They come here through bursaries from their employers. So I'm also studying. We are under pressure. We always submit assignments at the last minute, and we try to find quick solutions, especially Google. I know how to find academic articles on Google, but I prefer Google Scholar because it is scholarly, as the name says. But I know University of Free State is a public university. Students write exams, but here we submit assignments. We have postgraduate students, PhD, masters, and doctorate. They do the literature search. So my point is, we are not supposed to spoon feed students, right? Because our job is to support students as librarians. We are supposed to show them how to do or how to optimize the literature search so that they can become good researchers. That's why I'm using the word spoon feeding. When they request the literature from me, I can only give them a sample of what's available on AppScope because we subscribe to it. But we also have the option to use open access platforms or resources. But my biggest challenge in my workplace is students will always find quick solutions. Google is their favorite. You can find anything. And now we have AI challenges. So how do you address my concerns, Esma? Thanks, guys, for recognizing me.
Nare, I'm gonna answer and try to answer your question, then I'm gonna ask Anne-Marie to answer it as well. We give extensive training to the students, and then one of my slides is why not use Google Scholar. And one of the main reasons is Google Scholar doesn't tell yet what they regard as a scholarly journal. So it could be that there's a predatory journal also being picked up by Google Scholar, and you or the researcher, the student, won't know it. And especially if they want to go into academic, that would look very bad on their CVs if they have a predatory journal in. With regards to AI, I also very explicit say in all the trainings I give, do not use ChatGPT, especially to get to your articles. You can ask ChatGPT to help you formulate your assignment in terms of headings and stuff, but then you still have to go and look for information under each of those headings. What we also do is we help students, the two research librarians here, and I believe Anne-Marie is maybe as well, we can run students' assignments or dissertations, whatever, on draft Turnitin. So it's not being part of Turnitin's knowledge base. And then Turnitin also picks up an AI if AI was used. Now, obviously, it's not 100% correct. It's never can be. But then we tell them. The other thing is we can help them check their bibliography. And if you get, I'm getting so furious when I see that, or disappointed, whatever. If there's a journal article that doesn't exist, then I immediately send it back to the student and say, you've used ChatGPT, please go back and look for what you have written, but get us a proper journal article for that. Because, and then I literally say to them, your supervisor is going to give you 0 for this assignment. And usually they have a big fright, and then they work throughout the night to just rectify what they've done. So yeah, I'm very strict with my students, telling them you're going to get 0, because that is the fact of the matter. Anne-Marie, I don't know if you want to say something more about this.
Thanks, Isma. The aspect that I'd like to address that was mentioned just now is the spoon feeding. Okay. So I think there might be a perception that if we do an information search for the client, that's spoon feeding. I just want to put that into context. So why do we do information searches? Often we do an information search because it is for a systematic review. And if you look on the PRISMA, the reporting standard for systematic reviews, I think line 5 or 6 or 7, I can't remember, is that the information specialist is used in conjunction. It's a team. So the information specialist works with the researcher to get a good information search. And then obviously we have to run the search because we are the knowledgeable ones on the database. And because the reporting on a systematic review, what do you call it? The search string needs to be reported on. So it's you are setting up your researcher. If you leave them to do the search string on their own, you're setting them up for a bit of a scrutiny, because when the systematic review is published, the search string is published along with that, and it's better if it was done by an expert who really knows the operators and who knows the databases and who knows how to get the best information. So yeah, I can think that it can be seen as a spoon feeding to help them. But as I said, the systematic review protocol actually calls for the involvement of a specialist librarian, so that the scrutiny of the search string is not under suspicion. Thank you.
Thank you. CE Water also says there's another problem with Google Scholar. Articles and results may be on sites which violate copyright in providing access to the full text article. Yeah, so I just think it boils down to the training that we give our students. Also, with regard to the spoon feeding, I'm working with postgraduate students, so master's and doctoral students who 90% of them works throughout the day. So 8 to 5, they've got a job, then they have to go home and do all the stuff that needs to be done at home. And when all the children and the dogs and the cats and the husband or wife are happy, then that student can sit down and start working on his studies. So we give them training on how to search the databases. I tell them if they are bored on a Saturday afternoon and they want to do the search, then they're more than welcome. But also remember, I, as the librarian, know how to search. We've got much more experience, so we're spoon feeding them up to a certain point. We empower them to do searches on their own, but I also tell them as part of my training, don't sit and waste 2 hours of your time trying to find some information which I might be able to find in, say, 10 minutes. So yeah, I think it's up to every librarian and the students you are working with, whether you think you are spoon feeding them or enabling them or empowering them or whatever. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my questions. I realize that for private institutions, we work a little bit differently. For instance, we don't have library guides because we are such a niche market, and to acquire all these library systems costs money. But I'm happy that you shared valuable information and knowledge with me, and then I will try to implement your recommendations in my workplace. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I
Thank you.
was muted.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Anne-Marie?
This is Cecilia Water. Can I just say something to Nare? Do you use LibGuides, which are created by libraries around the world? Though they're supposed to be used, supposed to be for students, in fact, I think librarians use them more. So why don't you go and have a look at for some? I mean, one of the things I did recently was to look for a LibGuide on artificial intelligence, and that can save you a lot of work. You just have to tell your students that this was created for people at a specific university, so not everything mentioned in the guide be available to people outside the institution.
We don't have the library guides. I try to incorporate the lib guides into Moodle or the dashboard, the e-learning portal, but I only rely on the EBSCO host subscription. So I have uploaded the EBSCO host search box on the Moodle. So when students authenticate themselves on the dashboard, they will also land on the landing page. They will also see the EBSCO host search box, and that has worked to encourage them to prioritize EBSCO. Somebody mentioned in the chat that EBSCO has this component that is EBSCO Discovery Service uh, that doesn't only search on EBSCO database, it also searches other open source databases like Google Scholar. So I rely on the EBSCO host Discovery Service. So that's how I operate. The lib guides, we couldn't afford them. We got a code, but we didn't take it further.
You don't have to pay for it. People load, libraries load these things and they're there and you can just go in and look at them. You don't have to create your own. And I use them a lot to, when I'm preparing to train masters and doctoral students, or when I'm ignorant and I want to know something. You don't have to create LibGuides, you can use other people's ones.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? We've got 3 minutes left.
If I can just butt in again,
Yes,
one
please.
of the places that I go to, well, 2 places that I go to, one is core.ac.uk, which is a global academic database and has a lot of research articles and theses and so on. Not everything is free, but that is a very useful place to go. And the other thing that I do is I go and search institutional repositories of universities and so on. Because I don't have a wide range of databases to search. So I have to go outside and use other resources besides EBSCO and some other databases. So I would say, search, look around, see what there is available, evaluate how useful it is. Of course, it depends on what you're doing a search on, I mean.
Okay, I think this is the end. Thank you everyone for attending and for a very insightful presentation, Anne-Marie, and also for the lively discussions afterwards. Like I said, keep this, watch this space. That's the word. Sorry, my airtime is now running out here. For the other sessions that's going to be presented later on in this year. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.